Brandy Hall disappeared on Thursday, August 17, 2006. When a person disappears without a trace, often the most critical information is hidden in their actions and words from the days before they vanished. Brandy Hall's last known whereabouts may hold the clues to what happened to her. In Central Florida, a firefighter and mother goes missing.
She left by herself, and she did not appear to be in any kind of distress.
24 hours later, her truck turns up empty, submerged in a pond.
I seen a picture of Brandy's truck being pulled out of a pond, and I just started going crazy.
Did Brandy Hall have reason to flee?
I can't grasp the concept of her just up and leaving and living in Costa Rica, sipping a pina colada.
Or did someone want to hurt her?
You can't help but think it. Perfect timing. Right before his court appearance, she disappears.
As an investigation begins, the mysteries only multiply.
She was fixing to get her life back. She was fixing to get her job back. Things were looking so good.
Leaving Brandy's loved ones in an endless state of panic.
Somebody wake me up out of this horrible, horrible nightmare.
It's Thursday night, August 17th, 2006. 32-year-old Brandy Hall has just begun her shift at the volunteer fire station in Malabar, Florida. Brandy is one of only 2 female firefighters in the squad, but she fits right in and is well liked by her colleagues.
Brandy's the kind of a person that comes around once in a lifetime that's truly, genuinely sincere about helping others. If you were going to be anybody in the fire service, you'd want to be like Brandy Hall.
Brandy is something of a local hero. Her adventurous spirit shaped by the sandy swamps and palm groves of Bull Creek, where she grew up.
I think growing up in Bull Creek did good for Brandy. It's just like a little community that everybody sticks together and takes care of everybody.
Bull Creek's amazing. It's 22,000 acres of beautiful woods, and that was our playground out there. We learned how to grow up back there.
From an early age, Brandy was a strong, tough girl.
I was initiated by Brandy. The first day I met her, she threw me into the mud. Brandy's very much the tomboy who wore Wranglers and boots and camouflage jackets, and that was Brandy.
She was more like a boy. She did everything boys did. She drove the airboats, she drove the four-wheelers and three-wheelers, and she fed off that stuff. She loved it. She liked being better than the boys. She was a happy girl. She was always the one that had the bright ideas.
Although Brandy seemed invincible, she almost lost her life in a 3-wheel all-terrain vehicle accident when she was 11.
She happened to go up a hill, and the three-wheeler came back onto her face. Her skull was fractured, both her jaws were broken, a couple other cheekbone areas were broken.
She was in surgery, I think it was 10 to 12 hours, I believe, something like that. It was really traumatic.
After a month in the hospital, Brandy was released and underwent home care for another year. Despite lifelong pain and scarring, and several more surgeries as she continued to grow, Brandy rebounded.
I don't think the accident changed her. She had too much willpower. She had too much strength and want to do in her life, and you don't pick on Brandy. It don't matter whether she had a 3-wheeler accident or not. She was still gonna kick your butt if you picked on her.
But Brandy's accident did profoundly affect her in another way.
I believe it made her dedicate her life to wanting to help other people. That's why she became the firefighter and the EMT and a paramedic, because she wanted to always be there to help everyone.
Fresh out of high school, Brandy began volunteering at the Hollapaw Fire Station. It's there that she met Jeff Hall, another firefighter, and her future husband.
When we first met, she was getting in there, getting her hands dirty, and I really liked that. I mean, she was mixing it up good, just like the other guys. I'd been in fire service for years, and you didn't see too many women like that, so that's what I think was the initial attraction.
In 1992, Jeff and Brandy were married, and their careers took off. Jeff was promoted to fire chief of Osceola County, and Brandy started a full-time position at the Palm Bay Fire Station.
She was an excellent firefighter, and she could go in at a moment's notice and tell you exactly what was going on by the color of the smoke, the sounds that the building makes. She saved 95% of the homes that she went on.
Despite working 24-hour shifts, Brandy and Jeff made time to start a family, first having a girl and then a boy.
Oh, she was a fantastic mother. You couldn't ask for a better mother. Being a firefighter, she worked 1 day on and 2 days off. Jeff and Brandy worked the same shift, so I would have them on their day that they worked all day and all night. She'd always call me and tell me to make sure that they were breathing, to put my hand on their stomach to make sure they're breathing. Maybe with some of the scenes that she saw, and she just wanted to make sure that they were still alive. She just loved her children and she loved her job.
By 2005, Brandy is leading a comfortable, happy life. But on July 2nd, she receives shocking news. Her husband Jeff and a friend are arrested for marijuana cultivation.
I really can't remember how it all came into play, how the ball started getting rolling. Just thought it would be fun and not really having the thought of the repercussions of such actions. It was a stupid mistake.
The grow operation was located on 13 acres of land, south of where Brandy and Jeff live with their children. Jeff pleads guilty to the charges, but maintains that Brandy has nothing to do with it.
Brandy thought I was renting the property to somebody. I was able to hide the money because we made a great deal of money. I had my pension, Brandy had a good salary, and also I had told people that I had rented our property for a pretty decent amount of money.
But Jeff is unable to shield Brandy from the repercussions of his crime. The property is in both his and Brandy's name, so she is also legally responsible. 6 days later, the authorities come to the fire station to arrest Brandy.
I could not believe it. I saw no reason why or how they even got an arrest warrant for her. I was very surprised. They waited till she was on duty and came and basically made a public spectacle out of her. When I picked her up from jail, she was just in shambles. I mean, she was constantly crying. I mean, I was terrified for her.
Brandy's charges are dropped soon after she is released from jail. But then she receives another blow. After 10 years of service, Brandy is fired.
Brandy's record as a firefighter was immaculate. I think she got some of the highest reviews consistently every year. She never thought that it would actually go as far as terminate her. She thought everything would be dropped. The charges that would be dropped against her.
Brandy lived for the fire service, and it just tore her apart.
It was devastating. She was crying. She's like, "Mom, I can't lose my job," because she'd worked so hard, and it meant everything to her.
Not one to bow to adversity, Brandy immediately sets out to get her job back, seeking work as a volunteer in the nearby town of Malabar.
In the state of Florida, if you stay out of the fire service for a 2-year period of time, you lose your certifications. And she did not want to lose her certifications. And she asked me if I could bring her in and allow her the opportunity to be a volunteer.
Because Brandy and Jeff are also financially strapped, she wastes no time in finding paid work.
She started working for us in our construction company, just doing odd jobs, painting manholes or backflows and stuff like that. She was fixing to get her life back. She was fixing to get her job back. Everything was fixing to be settled with that. The trouble with the grow house and stuff, things were looking so good.
A year after his arrest, Jeff has a court date to be sentenced for his crime. Although there's a chance of getting off on probation, Jeff's former position as fire chief could bring the law down harder on him.
I was the chief. Now, I was this political figure. Brandy was afraid I was going to go to jail for a minimum mandatory of 3 years, if not higher.
In hopes of helping lighten the sentence, Brandy agrees to be a character witness on Jeff's behalf. she also enlists the help of her boss at the Malabar Fire Department.
I was approached by Brandy the evening before the court trial for her husband, and she asked if I would go to be a character reference at his trial, and hopefully it may soften the punishment.
On the eve of Jeff's hearing, Brandy is scheduled to stay at the station overnight. As she always does when she's working, Brandy says prayers with the children over the phone before they go to bed.
I called Brandy to say the prayer with the kids. We talked, and then I said, okay, I'll see you tomorrow.
An hour after hanging up the phone with Brandy, Jeff receives another call.
Mom had called me and said, Jeff, do you realize that your court schedule had changed to like 8 o'clock in the morning? So I called and left a message with the lawyer, and I immediately tried to call Brandy.
But Jeff is unable to reach her. Brandy doesn't answer her phone, and her voicemail box is full.
That morning when I woke up, I talked to my attorney. He goes, no, there's nothing to worry about. We just need to be there early. Don't be there at 1 o'clock. Get there around 10 or 11 o'clock, and I'll meet you there. And then I tried to call Brandy, but I never could get a hold of her. I called the fire department. They said she had already left.
Because Brandy's shift ends at 7 a.m., Jeff believes his wife is on her way home. But as he prepares the kids for school, Brandy doesn't show up.
I don't know if there's anything that could describe that. I mean, I was scared. I knew in my heart I was going to go to jail. Dropping the kids off at school, man, I was crying.
Jeff says goodbye to his children and begins the hour-long journey to the Osceola courthouse for his sentencing hearing. While driving, he continues trying to find Brandy.
I finally got a hold of TJ. He worked with Brandy at the fire station. They were good buddies. He said, Jeff, she left last night about 10:30.
Jeff is shocked. If Brandy left the station the night before, where is she now?
I mean, I was driving to court. I was worried to death I was going to be late there, not knowing what was going to go on, and it was just crazy. I was scared, and it just felt lost.
Coming up, in a tragic piece of timing, one parent goes to jail while the other remains missing.
Everything's running through my mind. What about the kids? Where's Brandy? It was terrifying.
Jeff Hall has just learned that his wife Brandy is missing. The 32-year-old volunteer firefighter was scheduled to be at the station until her shift ended at 7 a.m. But according to a colleague, Brandy left the night before.
I'm getting scared at this time. I'm freaking out. Where's she at? And got the court thing I'm going to. So it was very chaotic. Very chaotic.
For Brandy's husband, Jeff, the timing couldn't be worse. He's en route to a sentencing hearing for a marijuana cultivation charge he's pled guilty to. Despite an intense desire to begin searching for his wife, he must keep heading toward the courthouse.
I would just start driving around trying to find, I would have more time to try to look, just drive around and see where she went to. And I just couldn't do all that. I mean, I was driving to court.
Jeff arrives at the courthouse, hoping against all odds that Brandy will be there. Instead, he finds a small crowd of family and friends gathered outside, but no one knows where Brandy is.
I got to the courthouse and immediately talked to my lawyer, and he goes, Jeff, what's wrong with you? And I said, I can't find Brandy. And then, of course, Brandy's mom starts winging out. Just, where's she at? Where's she at?
We were all standing there together, and he didn't know where she was at either. So we didn't know what to think.
I was frightened. I was scared to death. But then I got to thinking, well, she's so petrified of this place.
Jeff recalls an earlier episode when Brandy refused to enter the court building.
During a pre-trial hearing, she wanted to stay in the truck. Our attorney told me it's going to last like 5 minutes. But she was so scared to go into that courthouse, she stayed in the truck. She was just terrified, totally terrified. I mean, just the whole atmosphere. I mean, it's just this whole part of our life was a very scary time. It was very traumatizing.
Jeff hopes that his wife has simply gotten cold feet. At the moment, he has no choice but to put his thoughts of Brandy aside and focus on his sentencing.
The hearing didn't last, I wouldn't think, maybe half an hour at that. Well, I lost all track of time. I was constantly thinking about Brandy not showing up. not be able to contact her. It went so fast. I mean, it was just me staying up there with my attorneys and the judge saying you get 18 months Department of Correction, 3.5 years probation, and it's over with.
Jeff's sentence of 18 months in prison seems particularly harsh to other firefighters.
They wanted to make an example because, you know, we're in a trusted position, and that can't be tolerated. Your law enforcement and your fire and EMS are the people that have impeccable reputations, and to do this, it lost the trust of all the people. So, you know, you got to abide by the law.
For Jeff, the sentence goes in one ear and out the other. All he knows is that he'll be locked up and unable to look for Brandy.
Until I got sentenced, until I got taken back and got my fingerprints again, and, you know, it's just constantly, you know, running through my mind. What about the kids? Where's Brandy? You know, it was terrifying.
As Jeff is handcuffed and taken away, family members quickly arrange for Brandy and Jeff's children to be picked up from school. Then they turn their attention to Brandy.
We knew where Jeff was going, so then after it was over, then it was time to go find out where Brandy was at, why she wasn't there.
But the facts are few. Brandy left the fire station the night before at 10:30 p.m. Now, almost 24 hours later, no one has seen or heard from her. Brandy's mother can't help but worry about her daughter's state of mind.
Brandy told me she and Jeff weren't getting along. I believe that their relationship got bad after he got arrested, and then she got arrested, and I'm sure Brandy was angry at Jeff over all this. She has a book probably 3 or 4 inches wide of all the certificates that she's accomplished. You can't be accountable for what somebody else is doing.
Unable to sit back and wait for news any longer, Debbie decides to look for Brandy herself.
I don't know, I just went towards Palm Bay, Malabar, looking. I probably drove by Brandy and Jeff's house to see if she might be there for any reason, just looking to see if I see her truck anywhere and find out what's going on.
Debbie drives for hours, searching for any sign of Brandy. It's almost dark when her worst fears are realized.
I remember coming to a stop sign. Right before the stop sign, Cher, one of her best friends, was coming the other way. Seems like she might have got out of the car and come running to me. And she's like, "They just pulled Brandy's truck up out of the pond."
Coming up, has Brandy taken her own life?
I mean, I sit there with my head on the window, just close my eyes and cried. You know, I cried like a baby.
Florida firefighter Brandy Hall never came home after ending her shift early on August 17th, 2006. Her husband Jeff had no time to look for her before making a scheduled court appearance. Now he's sitting in jail, completely isolated from any news in the search for his wife.
When I was in the holding cell, I had no contact with my family, so if something should arise, I wouldn't know if Brandy showed up or didn't show up. And I was worried sick the whole time, and this was hours and hours and hours. I was just sitting there with my head against the wall, against the window, just, you know, stomach in a knot, sick in my stomach.
Through the window of his cell, Jeff is able to see a television that the guards are watching. When the 11 o'clock news begins broadcasting, he gets the shock of his life.
I looked up and I seen a picture of Brandy's truck being pulled out of a pond, and I just started going crazy. I mean, emotionally, because it's obvious her truck. That was her pride and joy. Her truck. It's always her truck. I'm starting to freak out in my mind and saying, okay, what's going on here? Why is this, you know, and just didn't know what to think. I mean, I was like a basket case at this point in time.
Jeff can only imagine what the images mean. He must wait to learn anything more until he is finished being processed.
I went to the 23-hour lockup, and I don't even know what time that was. When you get in there, you're allowed one phone call. I was able to call my mom, and she tried to fill me in.
She tells him that earlier in the day, a man fishing in Palm Bay found a firefighter's bunker bag. The items inside, boots, pants, a jacket, and helmet, all belonged to Brandy Hall. Firefighters responding to the scene found broken branches and tire marks suggesting that a vehicle was submerged underwater. They work with police to pull the truck out and confirm that it's Brandy's.
I just got my head hung against the window, just thinking, you know, what's going on, what's happening. Just cried, and I cried like a baby. I mean, I sit there with my head on the window, just closed my eyes, cried.
In Palm Bay, firefighters and police officers work into the night to look for Brandy. Many of them know her personally and are deeply affected by the search.
It was very traumatic for me. I knew the family, I knew the children, and the circumstances of how we found this thing, and no one knowing anything, what could have happened, or what did happen. It put a strain on me, personally.
Once Brandy's truck is fully removed from the water, the responders brace themselves for what they will find.
When they first opened the doors, they weren't sure if Brandy Hall was inside of the truck. When they let the water out of the vehicle and looked inside, they discovered that Miss Hall was in fact not in the vehicle.
The truck is sent to the station for a thorough forensic examination. The next morning, investigators resume searching.
Cadaver dogs were used to search the area. Volunteers were used to search that area. The woods and the area around that lake were searched pretty thoroughly by numerous volunteers and other agencies.
Divers also entered the pond, probing the murky depths for personal items relating to Brandy, or the firefighter herself.
Suicide was a theory. She had some financial pressures based on her losing her job at Palm Bay Fire Department, as well as court costs for her husband, who had pled guilty to a cultivation of cannabis charge in Osceola County.
The last time that I saw Brandy, she seemed okay to me, but she seemed like she was a little stressed out. The most thing that was weighing on Brandy's mind was her bills. You know, that she just felt like she was kind of getting buried. It was like she felt like she was working and never getting ahead. We didn't talk about Jeff's sentencing hearing a lot because the kids were around that day, but she did mention that, you know, she was nervous about the outcome and what was going to happen.
To be sure that the divers haven't missed anything, police begin work draining the pond. They also start developing other theories.
From there, investigators had to talk to Brandy Hall's family and friends to try to get a timeline of where she had gone, who she had talked to, and where she should have been at the time she went missing.
Brandy's husband, Jeff, is one of the first to be approached.
It was 1 to 2 days after I got put in jail that a detective came and saw me. Basically asked me if I did anything bad to her, and I said, no, I didn't.
Jeff goes over with the detective the last contact he had with his wife.
He spoke with her around 9:30 the night before her truck was found, which would have been August 17th, when she called to say the prayers with her kids. He tried calling her at approximately 11 o'clock and was unable to reach her.
Detectives also speak to firefighters who were working with Brandy the night she disappeared.
Brandy Hall had told her coworkers that she just wasn't feeling good, and her stomach seemed upset, so she was going to go home and sleep.
Surveillance video from the fire station seems to confirm nothing out of the ordinary occurred that last night.
They looked at the video at the Malabar Volunteer Fire Department to make sure she didn't have any altercations with anybody there, as well as to see if anybody had followed her out of the parking lot.
The footage shows Brandy relaxed and at ease, speaking with her fellow firefighters in the station.
She left by herself, and she did not appear to be in any kind of distress or emotionally upset or anything. She left as anybody would leave work.
The timestamp on the surveillance cameras pinpoints Brandy's departure at 10:50 p.m. Investigators look next at Brandy's phone activity.
Cell phone records confirm that Brandy Hall called home approximately 9:30 at night, which would have been around the kids' bedtime. Cell phone records also confirmed that Jeff Hall had attempted to call Brandy Hall at approximately the time she would have been leaving the Malabar Volunteer Fire Department.
Both calls are consistent with Jeff's statement. But Jeff wasn't the last person to speak to Brandy that night.
Cell phone records also showed there was a phone call at 11:05 p.m. where there was an 11-minute conversation, which ended up being the last conversation documented that Miss Hall had.
Coming up, could this call lead police to Brandy's whereabouts? On August 17th, 2006, Brandy Hall walks out of the Malabar fire station and disappears. According to coworkers and in surveillance footage, Brandy's last hours at work don't seem out of the ordinary. But just after she leaves, Brandy places one last phone call. Police are able to trace the call to Randall Richmond, Brandy's former boss at the Palm Bay Fire Department.
Randall Richmond was a really close friend of the family to Brandy and Jeff. Firefighters are a very tight-knit group. Their families got together all the time and went camping together, and they just did all kinds of fun things together.
On Sunday, August 20th, Randall comes in for questioning and tells investigators shocking news. Brandy was planning on fleeing.
Mr. Richmond came into the police department, stated that Miss Hall had spoke to him Thursday night, which would have been August 17th, and said that she was leaving, she was going away. She was waiting at the Sunoco gas station for money. Miss Hall did not tell Mr. Richmond who was supposed to bring her money, only that she couldn't take it anymore. She was just going to go away and disappear.
Randall's account points the investigation in an entirely new direction. Did Brandy leave on her own accord? It's hard for those close to her to imagine.
I was hoping to God that maybe she got angry and just decided to dump the truck and walk away and get her thoughts together before she came back. But I can't grasp the concept of her just up and leaving and living in Costa Rica, sipping a pina colada and getting away from it all. I can't envision that.
I don't think Brandy left on her own accord. She had to be forced, in my sense, because there's no way she would leave her children. No matter what happened, she would not leave her children.
There's also the evidence at the pond. If Brandy fled, was sinking her truck part of an elaborate scheme to cover her tracks?
To know Brandy and know the type of person she was towards her vehicles, she wouldn't put her truck in the water. It's just impossible to think that. Somebody else is involved here. Somebody else had a helping hand in this.
Despite their doubts, detectives go ahead and check out Randall's story, but they are unable to confirm any of the details.
Nobody at the gas station remembered seeing Brandy Hall's truck there that evening, and there was no exterior video, so it was unable to be verified if she was in fact there.
Data from Brandy's cell phone carrier doesn't support the account either.
The information from the cell tower didn't show a pinpoint location, so where the signal was coming from could have been anywhere in a 3-mile radius, which would have included that Sunoco gas station, but also would have included the lake where her truck was eventually found.
As police go over this information, the results from the forensics examination of Brandy's truck come back. Detectives have found blood, and it belongs to Brandy.
The blood was in the map pocket of the driver's side door and also on the driver's side floorboard. Again, it was difficult to determine how much blood was there because of the water being mixed with it. So we couldn't tell just from looking at the blood if there was enough to say that the person would not have been able to survive with whatever injury caused that blood.
The new clue fuels speculation that Brandy staged her own murder in order to disappear.
Miss Hall would have known how to draw her own blood based on her training as a paramedic and as an EMT. She would have been around needles and would have had opportunity to do so.
Meanwhile, police finished draining the pond where Brandy's truck was found.
They couldn't find her body, so at that point, suicide seemed the least likely.
Brandy's loved ones wonder why, in all the searches, police have not turned up Brandy's gun.
She just grew up with guns. She always had a gun in her truck at all times. Her dad was very, very protective of her. Her dad taught her to keep guns on her. That was very normal for her to have that on her.
Brandy's missing gun underlines a more important point in the case. According to her friends, if someone approached Brandy that night, it had to be someone she knew.
Brandy wouldn't allow strangers near her truck or her equipment. And if she felt threatened, she wouldn't have them come very close to her either, so she was a very cautious person. If you look at it in that light, if they did assault her or attacked her, she would have had to trust them to allow them to get that close.
For detectives, the investigation has returned to square one. Who would want to hurt Brandy?
There's not a soul in the world that I know of that would want to ever hurt or harm Brandy. Everybody admired her. She was the most well-liked person I was ever associated with in my life.
But Brandy's golden reputation was much tarnished in the last year by her husband's arrest. Police begin forming a new theory. Could her husband's marijuana operation have put Brandy in danger?
I did hear that they were dealing with dangerous people. And because she was going to go in and testify on Jeff's behalf, I think they thought that she was going to release some names. And they didn't want that to happen.
The strange timing of Brandy's disappearance puts Jeff under suspicion.
You can't help but think it. Perfect timing. Right before his court appearance, she disappears. Did he do it because she may have spoke out about him? Who knows?
Police decide that it's time to speak to Jeff again. But the investigation hits a serious setback. Jeff is no longer talking. Coming up, will new clues lead investigators to Brandy Hall?
When they discovered the backpack, they looked inside the contents, found the day planner and the name Brandy Hall.
It's been a week since Brandy Hall's truck was found in the bottom of a pond in Palm Bay, Florida. But the 32-year-old mother of two is still missing. Investigators are beginning to suspect foul play and take a closer look at Brandy's husband, Jeff.
At the time of Miss Hall's disappearance, her husband was due to be sentenced. It was unclear whether she didn't want to testify. The theory was that there was drug dealers involved with a marijuana grow operation that killed her to silence her because Jeff was going to turn evidence against somebody.
But police are unable to talk to Jeff. He's out of jail and appealing his sentence.
Mr. Hall would not speak about the case, and his lawyers actually didn't want him to speak to us because it was still ongoing as far as the sentencing, and we were unable to clear up whether there was a bigger picture or other people involved that may have wanted to silence Miss Hall.
For police, Jeff's silence suggests he may have something to hide.
But Mr. Hall, he was considered a suspect that we had to eliminate, as was a lot of people in her circle. The fact that Mr. Hall was not able to speak directly with us caused a big question mark to be placed over his name as far as suspicion of guilt.
With no way to pursue this angle, the case begins to stall.
After the initial searches, it kind of just turned into nothing. I even hate to say it, it's like she just dropped off the face of the earth.
Time went on and nothing came of anything, and so they just sort of let it go like a cold case, I believe.
Almost a year has passed since Brandy Hall has gone missing. Family and friends find it increasingly difficult to hold on to the hope that Brandy is alive, when suddenly a clue surfaces.
On June 28, 2007, a backpack was discovered in a canal in Indian River County that was found to be Miss Hall's backpack that contained her day planner and some other personal items. When they discovered the backpack, they looked inside the contents, found the day planner and the name Brandy Hall.
The canal is approximately 30 miles south of the pond where Brandy's truck was found.
It's unclear how that backpack came to be in there. It's not connected in any way via any waterway, so the backpack had to have been thrown in to that canal close to where it was discovered.
The discovery of the backpack essentially rules out the theory that Brandy fled on her own.
The backpack was a small backpack and wouldn't be consistent with somebody traveling. There was some clothing found in the backpack. It wasn't enough to support anybody for more than a change of clothes.
Loved ones are also struck by the absence of Brandy's medication, which she took to fight the pain of the ATV accident she had as a child.
Brandy went nowhere without her medication because she would have major headaches. The medicine stayed in that backpack and they were never found.
Detectives follow through with the new lead, but are disappointed by the lack of results.
After the backpack was discovered, Miami Search and Rescue came back up with side-scanning sonar to check that canal to determine if maybe her body had been dumped in there or if she was in that canal or if there was any other evidence items. It ended up being just another dead end, so to speak, in this investigation.
Again, the search for Brandy hits a standstill. But then, there's movement in the case. After 14 months of silence, Brandy's husband, Jeff, agrees to talk.
I first spoke directly with the investigators as soon as the appeals process was over with. I think there was a lot of misconception, about that or why I was doing that, but we're trying to appeal a very serious situation.
Jeff loses his appeal and begins serving an 18-month sentence for marijuana cultivation.
It was probably within a month of me being sentenced. So they came to Central Florida Reception Center where I was at and talked to me there. I mean, I know the process, being thought of as a suspect or a person of interest because, I understand, I get all that. I'm a spouse.
Palm Bay police visit Jeff several times during his incarceration. They check out his whereabouts the night that Brandy went missing and make arrangements for him to take a lie detector test as soon as he's out.
Mr. Hall took the polygraph examination, and the results were that there was no deception indicated. Every time we contact Mr. Hall, he's very open with information. He's very forthcoming and willing to work with us however he can just to get an answer of what happened to his wife. I would not characterize Mr. Hall as a suspect at all.
In speaking with Jeff, Detective Pusatir is also able to clear up the rumors that Brandy was kidnapped or killed to prevent her from speaking out in court.
There's not no drug syndicate out of Mexico like was rumored to have or some big, huge operation. I say that's nonsense. I mean, total nonsense.
It's a smaller grow operation. They were just getting started. There was no Colombian drug lords out to kill them that had come up in some of the rumors that, oh, I think she was killed by drug dealers. We were able to eliminate that as a possible motive.
For Jeff, the feeling that his crime may have colored people's perception of Brandy's disappearance weighs heavily on him.
Would things have been handled differently if I didn't go to jail? Would more people have been concerned about looking for her? And, that just sucks. It's something that I did. And I got weight on my shoulders because I went to jail, did something wrong. And that's hard to live with.
But with Jeff's cooperation, police are able to consider a new angle. They take a closer look at Randall Richmond, Brandy's former boss, with whom Jeff believes she was having an affair.
After she went missing, I found one of her cell phones and I found some text messages. The text messages pretty much at that point in time made me realize that her and Randall were having an affair.
But police have already looked at Randall. He was the last person to speak to Brandy on August 17th, the night she disappeared.
In December of 2007, I wrote a search warrant for Mr. Richmond's vehicle. This was based on the fact that he was the last person to communicate with her. On August 18th, his truck was seen several times not far from where her truck was discovered. His vehicle was seized and a search warrant executed on it, looking for trace evidence of blood or any hair or fibers that belonged to Miss Hall.
No evidence is found inside Randall's vehicle, and when he is called in for questioning, the exact nature of his relationship with Brandy is difficult to define.
Mr. Richmond characterized their relationship as an emotional affair, that he never crossed any boundaries.
But others close to Brandy have a different perspective.
Brandy did confide in me about having an affair. I don't think it was a planned thing. I think it kind of just happened.
Some say that for Randall's wife, the rumors were real enough to provoke a very public reaction, 7 months before Brandy went missing.
Several witnesses told investigators that they saw Anne-Marie Richmond and Brandy Hall have a verbal confrontation over Brandy's relationship with Randall Richmond. It came up later in the investigation that several people, including Jeff Hall, saw threatening text messages back and forth between Brandy Hall and Anne-Marie Richmond, where they were sending threats back and forth to each other.
But Palm Bay police have trouble substantiating any of this information.
Anne-Marie Richmond claimed to not know anything of what was going on, and Mr. Richmond consistently claimed that he did not know what happened to Brandy Hall other than that last phone call where she said she was going to disappear.
Neither Randall nor his wife has ever been named a suspect or person of interest in the case. While rumors still circulate, Brandy's loved ones remain focused on what's most important, finding Brandy.
I just don't want people to lose sight of the kind of person that she was, because a lot of us make horrible and wrong decisions and choices in our life, but it doesn't necessarily make us a bad person. And she was a good person, and I don't believe she ever meant to hurt anybody. She was just trying to live her life and love her kids and have her family, you know, and I miss her a lot.
Years have passed since Brandy's 2006 disappearance. With no answers and no new leads, Brandy's family and friends struggle to keep on without her.
I saw Brandy every day. We were a close family, and it's so hard that she's not here. It's like somebody wake me up out of this horrible, horrible nightmare.
I was close with her. She was like a daughter. She did so much for this department, and it hurts that she's gone now. Her picture's all over this fire station. This has gone on too long, and it's impacted too many people here.
When we go back in Bull Creek, it's hard on me because I think of Brandy all the time. I think she talks to me through the trees. I don't know why, but I'll find myself staring at a tree and it dances, and there's not a tree around it that's doing the same thing.
Although Brandy's husband, Jeff, is out of jail and reunited with his family, his life will never be the same. He misses his wife, and so do their children.
I mean, if they would find her alive or find her dead, I think it would be easier on the kids. Definitely, they think about it every day, I'm sure. You know, because my son even asked me, are that we still looking for mom? He's still looking for mom. Yes. You cannot pull the wool over kids' eyes, you know, especially when it comes to their mom.
Roxanne Paltoff disappeared on Friday, July 7th, 2006. When a person disappears without a trace, often the most critical information is hidden in their actions and words from the days before they vanished. Roxanne Paltoff's last known whereabouts may hold the clues to what happened to her. A teenage girl leaves a motel one summer night and never returns.
She left her phone, she left her debit card, she left her purse behind, and I knew at that moment something was wrong and my daughter was in danger.
Could the items she left behind hold clues to her disappearance?
I know Roxanne's clothing, and I've never seen these clothes. It wasn't even Roxanne's size.
I thought, okay, this guy's got her ID and we're gonna find Roxanne.
Or will the results of DNA tests reveal what really happened?
And I was just bawling my eyes out, thinking, oh my God, this is Roxanne. They actually found her.
July 3rd, 2006. It's a humid Monday morning in Austin, Texas. 18-year-old Roxanne Paltoff is looking forward to the July 4th holiday. This Independence Day marks her and her boyfriend Lewis's 2-year anniversary. And after the fireworks, they're planning on spending time together in a local motel. She returns home to pick up some additional belongings.
She came in the house, rushed in, and she goes, I'll be home in a couple of days. And I said, okay. And I said, just, call me. And what she did, she called me every day.
Roxanne is the much-loved oldest daughter of Liz Harris's 5 children.
Roxanne had a beautiful smile. She had a wonderful personality. She had a very good heart. She would give you the shirt off her back.
Mama, come down here.
Go ahead, Roxanne.
Come down here with me.
I will.
Let's do it together. Roxanne, come on.
Roxanne, jump way out. See rocks right there. You'll hit them. Full of life. She loved her brothers and sisters. She would do anything for them.
We went to the same high school, and everybody knew Roxanne, and they knew us because of Roxanne. We were the Powtoff girls. She was a big sister. She was the one that everybody looked up to.
After some difficult years in high school, Roxanne has become a hard worker with new ambitions.
She started doing her GED, and they had a program where they help you find work, and she got a job as an intern at a florist shop. She was growing up, becoming a young woman, making her own money, meeting new people.
She came in and applied for a job here. She was interested in floral design, and she really blossomed into this beautiful designer, very creative, really talented girl who got along with all of the employees very well.
She had everything lined up. She worked so hard to get where she was. She was back on track. She had got back into school. She wanted to get things right. She wanted to make her mom proud.
On the afternoon of Friday, July 7th, Roxanne calls her mother and asks to spend one more night with her boyfriend, Louis. Roxanne's mom's not thrilled, but knows Roxanne's having a good time swimming and sunbathing before school and work resume on Monday.
And I told her that we're going shopping, and I said, why don't you just come on home and we can leave early in the morning. She goes, no, we're already here, and I'm just going to stay the night, and I promise I'll be home early in the morning. We'll go shopping. I was disappointed, you know, you're choosing Louis over your family. I said, okay, fine, be that way, Roxanne. I just had like a little attitude, you know. But she loved him. I mean, that's it. You know, you want to spend time with the ones you love.
Roxanne's mother often thinks back to that conversation and wishes it had gone differently. She also wishes she had listened to her instincts and told Roxanne to just come home that day.
That was actually the last words I said to her before she disappeared, and I've always felt guilty about that.
By noon Saturday, Liz Harris is still waiting for her daughter to come home. She tells herself that Roxanne will walk in at any moment and flash her vibrant smile. But the minutes tick by, and there is still no sign of Roxanne.
We waited around for her, but I don't think we tried calling her. We just thought she just dissed us, that she was spending time with her boyfriend.
I wasn't going to stop our plans just because she didn't make it here. You know, she would have made it home eventually. I'm not going to go calling her and say, where are you? We just went on out to the outlet mall and spent several hours out there. And it was going to be a family adventure, you know. Mom don't have money very often, so let's go shopping, you know.
When they get home later that day, Roxanne's mother, Liz, and her family get a call, but it's not from Roxanne.
Louis called me. It was late afternoon, and he had asked me, have you seen Roxanne? And then I said, what do you mean, have I seen Roxanne? She's been with you. Where is Roxanne?
Louis tells Liz Harris that he hasn't seen her daughter since 8:30 p.m. the previous night.
Well, he told me that they had an argument. She was pissed off because they're arguing over an old girlfriend or something. Roxanne just walked out, and he said that he tried to go after her, you know, beg her to come back into the hotel room, and she refused to do that. And he went out about 20 minutes later, where he last saw her. And she was nowhere around, and he said he searched for her and couldn't find her after that. He says he had her purse, and he had her cell phone, and he had her clothing. She left the hotel room with just her clothes on her back and her shoes, and that was it. It sounded like he was concerned, and I knew at that moment The mother instinct that I knew something was wrong and my daughter was in danger.
Coming up, police investigate Roxanne's boyfriend and uncover disturbing information.
Roxanne had disclosed that she was scared of him.
Roxanne Paltoff and her boyfriend Louis Walls have been celebrating their 2-year anniversary together in Austin, Texas. But according to Louis, after an argument, Roxanne leaves the motel where they had intended to stay the night and doesn't return. The next day, after missing a planned shopping trip with her family, warning bells immediately go off for Roxanne's mother when Louis calls asking if she has seen Roxanne.
The main thing was that she was not with him, and she hadn't contacted me, and she was supposed to have been home that morning, and things were just going through my head. I just couldn't understand it in my mind why she hasn't called me. And then I found out that she didn't have her cell phone, and she didn't have no money on her, because she left her phone, she left her debit card, she left her purse.
It just didn't make any sense. If you were going to get mad and leave the motel, you would have took your stuff with you.
According to her mother, Roxanne and Louis have argued in the past, but there's something about her disappearing that deeply concerns her family and friends.
It was unusual that Roxanne didn't call home because she always called. She was responsible about keeping in touch with her family. She had a few close friends, but mainly it was her family.
When we first heard about it, we're like, oh my God, Roxanne's gone, we had to go find her.
Roxanne's family immediately heads to the motel in North Austin where she and Louis had been staying. It's in a rough neighborhood, known for drugs and prostitution.
I knew of Runberg. Runberg was the area that you knew you just kind of stayed away from. You know, it was a lot of unsavory people, people that you don't want to associate with. I think Roxanne should have known better than that area to be in.
I didn't particularly know that the hotel she was staying at with Louis was that bad. And it was like the cheapest hotel in the area. That's why they picked it.
And I'd show people pictures, telling my daughter's missing, I'm trying to find her. And nobody had ever seen her. They didn't know who she was. Louis and I kept calling back each other that night. And I told them, look, we both need to call the police.
They both call 911. And 3 days after she is last heard from, the Austin Police Department's Missing Persons Unit starts its investigation into the case of Roxanne Paltoff.
Her mother had called and reported her missing, and also Louis Walls, who was her boyfriend, called and reported her missing. So at the onset, I mean, there was concern that A, where Roxanne went missing from, there's narcotics, prostitution, and B, Roxanne's not the type of person to be missing for an extended period of time without making contact, especially with her mother.
Police turn their attention on the motel. They arrive ready to begin their investigation, but finding a scene to investigate proves problematic.
There were some bookkeeping errors that didn't allow us to ascertain who was in what room, if you will, or even how many tenants were at that hotel, as well as their identities. A lot of the rooms at that hotel that may show to be vacant on paper actually have subjects in them.
According to the motel booking sheet, Roxanne Paltoff had stayed in room 217. Police aren't sure whether the information is accurate, but decide to check it out anyway.
It was very clear upon going to that room that there was going to be no physical evidence available. I think it was roughly 5 to 6 days after her disappearance. The room that she was supposedly in had already been, of course, cleaned 3 or 4 times. Someone else had stayed in it. It was an unsecured scene for too long. Too many people had gone through it.
Next, the police focus their efforts on the area around the motel, talking to people who might have seen or heard something.
The area of Runberg and 35 is essentially a high-crime area. So a lot of the possible witnesses are already involved in some type of criminal activity and therefore would decline to speak with me.
After initially making contact with the police, Roxanne's boyfriend Louis has recently stopped returning calls. Investigators believe he can shed critical light on the case, since he was the last person to see Roxanne.
We knew we needed to speak to Louis quickly.
But Roxanne's mother does hear from Louis. He shows up to return her daughter's belongings 5 days after she went missing.
And he handed me the cell phone. And then I went through her purse. She had some rings in there. She had a toothbrush, her driving book. She had her debit card in there, no ID, and maybe a little bit of makeup. That was all.
Lewis also returns a bag of clothing, but on closer inspection, her family realizes the clothes aren't Roxanne's.
We went through it, and it was clothes I've never in my life seen. And I know Roxanne's clothing, and I've never seen these clothes. What I thought was strange, it wasn't even Roxanne's size. It was like way too small. It was like kid sizes.
I told Lewis, these are not Roxanne's clothes. He goes, well, I just gathered them up off the floor and put them in a bag. I thought they were hers.
In the days following Roxanne's disappearance, the police continue their efforts to speak to Lewis. Roxanne's family feels compelled to go back to the area around the motel. They're hoping to find someone who saw Roxanne leave the Budget Inn on the night of July 7th.
You just search that residential area, the abandoned houses, the ditches, the gullies and the drain storms, dumpsters. Knock on people's doors. Have you seen my daughter? Have to tell them the story. You know, my daughter's missing, I'm looking for it.
Their search comes up empty. They decide to zero in on Roxanne's cell phone, thinking it might contain clues. They request her phone records and turn them over to police.
There was over 300 phone calls, page after page after page of phone calls from various places, and they were like a minute apart, a second apart. You know, it was just a constant calling on her phone.
One number is of particular interest.
There were several phone calls made from Roxanne's phone after she disappeared that were to Lewis's ex-girlfriend in Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Police contact the ex-girlfriend and learn disturbing things about Lewis.
She did indicate that Lewis had told her he was in some trouble, he needed to come out there to New Mexico to get away. She declined to have him come to New Mexico. She informed us that she's scared of Lewis, that they had a violent past history together.
Roxanne's family has never been very comfortable with her relationship with Lewis.
He didn't really say much. Whenever I met him, he didn't try to get to know us. Wasn't really friendly, quiet, kind of awkward.
Lewis, he was not allowed to come over to my house. I disapproved of him. You know, no job, no future. Roxanne's running to him all the time. She was trying to go further in her life, and he was just trying to pull her down. And I saw that as a mother.
From the beginning, Roxanne's friends believed that she and Lewis had a volatile relationship.
Roxanne's mother drove by a bus stop and just happened to find Roxanne. She had a busted up nose, so Elizabeth took her straight to the emergency room. And at the time, she had told everybody that she fell or something of that sort, that it was an accident. And then one time during a conversation with her and I, it did come up that he had hit her hard enough in the face, a straight punch, that he broke her nose and she had to have reconstructive surgery on her nose.
We have statements from Roxanne's friends indicating that Roxanne had disclosed to them that Lewis had struck her in the past and that Lewis was very violent when he was angry, and that she indeed was scared of him at times.
Investigators look at the big picture, Lewis's past and the fact that he and Roxanne apparently argued shortly before she went missing, and step up their interest in him.
Anytime someone comes and tells you, I had an argument with someone and now they're missing and I was the last person to see them. I have a violent background. I have a history of being abusive towards the women I date. Lewis was a suspect pretty much immediately.
The police run a background check on Lewis Walls.
Lewis had a series of involvements in small crimes and a conviction for a felony delivery of a controlled substance.
I did not know that he spent time in prison. And I was furious, you know, why is she with this guy that's got this criminal record?
Lewis's police record also reveals personal details that he had previously chosen not to disclose.
When Roxanne and Lewis first met, she was 16 and he was 18 or 19. After she went missing is when we found out his real age. When she was 16, he was really 28.
It was scary. You know, what kind of elements is she gotten herself into?
Roxanne had never been in trouble herself, but her friends and family often worried that she could easily fall in with the wrong crowd.
I think she was gullible. She believed in people. Everybody told the truth. Everybody's nice. Nobody's gonna hurt her. You know, she I don't think, really understood how the world works out there.
She thought she was invincible sometimes. It was just, nobody's gonna do anything to me. It's not gonna happen, you know, and I'm with him, so I'm safe.
What I learned about Roxanne just in talking, especially with her family and her closest friends, is Roxanne played a real good tough girl role, but Roxanne was not savvy. She was not a streetwise person.
Since Roxanne's disappearance 5 days earlier, Lewis Walls has become increasingly harder to contact. Police step up the search to find him, but he continues to be an elusive witness.
We made several requests for Lewis to come in and give us a statement. He declined to come to the police station. We attempted to meet him at places, but he was unavailable. Lewis repeatedly told us that, you know, I've already told you all I know over the phone. I don't know why you need to talk to me in person. He felt like we were trying to put this on him.
Almost 2 weeks after Roxanne's disappearance, Lewis finally agrees to a face-to-face meeting with police.
I went and I picked Lewis up and I brought him in, and he sat down and talked to us. He didn't want to answer any open-ended questions that required, I guess, a lengthy answer on exactly how things unfolded. When we talked to him about the phone calls that were made, yeah, he was mad at Roxanne for walking off, so he called other girls, he flirted with other girls, he called his ex-girlfriend. He indicated, you know, Roxanne understood that. He downplayed the boyfriend-girlfriend role.
Lewis denies any involvement in Roxanne's disappearance. While being questioned, he says there's someone who can confirm that he was still in the motel when Roxanne went missing. A motel employee who maintains that she was with Lewis for the rest of that night.
The young lady indicated that she did see Roxanne leave the hotel and that Lewis was walking behind her, and then Lewis did turn and go back to the room. She did admit that later in the night, she did go to the room and spend some time there with Lewis, and that she left approximately 3 o'clock in the morning.
Based on the phone records, which indicate Lewis made calls between 8:30 p.m. and midnight, and the witness who says she was with Lewis from 10:30 p.m. to 3 in the morning, most of Lewis's time is accounted for.
The subject also indicated that the room was not in disarray. Roxanne's belongings were in the room. Everything seemed to be in order.
But before the police get a chance to polygraph the witness, the case takes an unexpected turn. A man is brought in for questioning in Austin, and he has Roxanne's ID in his wallet. Coming up, the mystery surrounding Roxanne's disappearance deepens.
I think there was some question as to whether she might have been involved in prostitution.
No one has seen 18-year-old Roxanne Paltoff in over a week. Her boyfriend maintains that after they had an argument, she left the motel where they were staying and didn't return. Her friends and family are deeply troubled.
I just couldn't understand it in my mind why she hasn't called me. You know, this was strange. Why hasn't she picked that phone up? And then I found out that she didn't have her cell phone and she didn't have no money on her because she left her phone, she left her debit card, she left her purse.
Searches around the motel area yield no new clues. Roxanne's boyfriend, Lewis Walls, presents a witness from the motel. But before police check out the story, there is a surprising development. 10 days after Roxanne's disappearance, her ID is discovered in the police department's Lost and Found. But how had it come into police possession?
Shortly after Roxanne disappeared, there was a disturbance call at a hotel near the Budget Inn.
A woman there alleges that a man has attempted to sexually assault her in a motel bedroom.
Officers responding to that call encountered a female victim who had been assaulted and stated that the suspect had just left the scene.
But the suspect leaves behind his wallet.
During the course of their investigation at the scene, The suspect returned to the scene.
The man, Jeffrey Moore, is detained and questioned.
No charges were brought. There was an uncooperative victim who declined to press charges, but the patrol officer did discover in this suspect's wallet was Roxanne's identification card.
The officer confiscates Roxanne's ID, but no one knows it belongs to a missing person at the time because the police do not run a check on it until 4 days later.
When the person who is in charge of mailing back IDs entered the name into the database, of course, Roxanne came up as a missing person, and we were immediately contacted and told that Jeffrey Moore had been in possession of Roxanne's ID.
Investigators are eager to learn more about Jeffrey Moore and how he happened to have Roxanne's ID.
We ran a background check on Jeffrey Moore and did show that he had involvement in criminal activity. However, there were no convictions.
Police track Moore down, and they conduct a telephone interview with the help of an interpreter because Moore is deaf.
He indicated that he had given Roxanne a ride, her and Lewis, the day before Roxanne had disappeared.
Police contact Lewis Walls, who confirms that he and Roxanne did get a ride with Jeffrey Moore the day before Roxanne went missing.
Lewis Walls did indicate that they had gone to the store to buy cigarettes, so Roxanne had had her ID with her, and that she very well could have lost it in the car.
But police say Walls and Moore don't agree on the route they took.
Jeffrey Moore tells me that the ride was from downtown Austin to the Runberg 35 area. Lewis Walls tells me that it's from Walgreen that is already in the Runberg 35 area back to their hotel.
This is the first inconsistency police note between Lewis Walls and Jeffrey Moore's stories. And they say Moore's account has its own contradictions.
Mr. Moore, in his initial interview on the other assault case, he indicated that Roxanne was a close friend of his, and he would like to retain the ID so that he may give it back to her in person. Then in an interview with me much later, Mr. Moore indicated that he didn't know Roxanne and that he had only met her one time. Jeffrey Moore has a plausible reason for having that card, but there's a lot of inconsistencies in both stories. Obviously, they can't both be telling the truth.
Roxanne's family is told that at one point Moore claimed to be a good friend of Roxanne's, but this is news to them.
Roxanne never mentioned having a friend named Jeffrey Moore. She would have had a friend that was deaf. She would have told us. We would have known about him. We knew her friends. We knew who she hung out with.
Unable to confirm Lewis Walls and Jeffrey Moore's stories, police have nothing to go on.
I mean, I was disappointed because I thought, okay, this guy's got her ID and we're gonna find Roxanne, and that wasn't it.
Police finally polygraph the woman from the motel who said she was with Lewis the night Roxanne disappeared. She passes, and his alibi checks out. Without enough evidence, the police are left with no leads to pursue, only questions about why Roxanne went missing. One thing starts to become clear to them. She didn't vanish on her own volition.
Roughly 10 days into the case is when it started developing for me that, okay, this person is what we refer to as involuntarily missing. In other words, I don't think that Roxanne is voluntarily absent. I didn't see any of the precursors for runaways or people who intend to be long-term missing. It was not the kind of life that someone would wish to escape.
With Roxanne now missing for 2 weeks, each passing day brings more despair for Roxanne's family.
When it gets silent, it gets eerie, because you just feel like this is the way it's going to be for the rest of my life. We're not going to have no more tips. Roxanne is lost, and nobody cares, and she's just a memory. I started gathering pictures of her perfume bottle, crosses, just pictures, notes. I just started putting a place together. I believe it was on Roxanne's birthday. It was a birthday present to her. It's a place that I can go to, cry, pray, talk to her. It's something I see every day when I come and go.
the family also has to contend with rumors and speculation about Roxanne.
It really hurt me, like, going back to school and just having a bunch of mean kids, saying their opinion, like, do you really think she's a prostitute? People had no right to come up to me or my siblings saying what they were saying.
I think there was some question as to whether she might have been involved in prostitution and/or drugs. More a function of where she disappeared from, because a lot of the street activity and criminal activity in that area is related to prostitution and drugs. But do I think that she actually engaged in any activities like that? I just don't. I don't believe so. It just doesn't fit with the kind of girl she was.
Roxanne wasn't a prostitute. She wasn't an addict. She wasn't the type of person that would normally be in that area. Roxanne, I think, had no problem with being in that area because she felt safe with Lewis Walls. I can't find an instance in Roxanne's life that she was in the Runbergen 35 area that Lewis Walls wasn't with her.
Finally, after almost 3 weeks, there's a break in the investigation. The remains of a girl are found near a highway intersection in southeast Austin.
This is it. They found Roxanne's body. This is her. Oh my God, my daughter's dead. What happened to her?
Coming up, the agony as Roxanne's family wait for DNA results.
I was just bawling my eyes out, thinking, oh my God, this is Roxanne. They actually found her. What am I gonna do?
It's been almost 3 weeks since Roxanne Paltoff disappeared in a seedy area of Austin, Texas. The case was at a standstill until a call comes in to the Austin Police Missing Persons Unit that could change everything.
The police department received a call that human remains had been discovered in the southeast section of Austin. I thought it could be Roxanne.
The police called me and asked me for Roxanne's dental records.
For over 3 harrowing weeks, the Paltoff family waits to see if the DNA from the remains matches Roxanne, never dreaming their lives would include this kind of surreal and terrifying experience.
It hit me hard. I remember being on the phone with my mother, and I was just bawling my eyes out, thinking, oh my God, this is Roxanne. They actually found her. What am I gonna do, Mom? How am I supposed to deal with this?
After a tense wait, the police received the DNA results.
It was discovered that it was indeed not Roxanne.
It was just a very traumatic moment, and it was such a relief. It was such a low that it happened, but it was such a high that it wasn't Roxanne.
Roxanne's family refuses to give up hope. In March 2007, Liz Harris enlists the help of a local advertising agency.
I think I'd seen a billboard on a TV show or on the computer when I was searching missing persons, and I saw a billboard and I wanted a billboard.
The billboard goes up in March 2007, a block away from the Budget Inn where Roxanne was last seen.
The billboard is a big blessing. She's up there 24/7. Thousands of people go down 35 or different areas of town, so she's not forgotten. She's not put away. Her sign is out there, and they see Roxanne. That helps a whole lot.
Over 200 people report having seen Roxanne in Austin, alive.
Elizabeth has a number on the billboard that will go to her. Every tip that is relayed directly to me so that I can follow up, and all those leads have to be tracked down.
This guy called in and told me that he saw my daughter working at a bank in North Austin. So I found out where the bank was. One of the tellers, she looks similar to Roxanne.
Unfortunately, none of those hits give us any credible, concrete leads as to exactly what happened to Roxanne.
1 year later, as the mystery deepens, the case attracts the attention of local journalist Jordan Smith.
Her mother, Elizabeth Harris, had put flyers all over town looking for Roxanne, and you couldn't go anywhere without seeing them. And I was taken by this picture of this girl who seemed to go missing from very strange circumstances. One of the things that's just so tantalizing and so frustrating about Roxanne's case is that all the pieces are there. Nobody's being fully honest about what they know, I don't think, and that's just very frustrating.
And still no sign of Roxanne Paltoff. She was last seen 1 year ago today in North Austin. Today, her family and friends peppered that same area with flyers. They hope it's going to spark someone's memory, lead to new clues, and hopefully lead to Roxanne.
It flew by, to be honest. You couldn't believe that it was already a year without Roxanne. She was there for my birthday when I turned 15, and when I turned 16, she wasn't there. And she was the one who made the cakes, who whipped my mom to buy us presents. When that birthday came around, she wasn't there. That's when it like really hit home.
Seven months later, the police and Roxanne's grieving family get a solid break in the case. After a witness said Walls was with her the night of Roxanne's disappearance, police turned their focus away from him. But in March 2008, Walls is back on their radar.
Lewis Walls came back to the forefront of the investigation when his current girlfriend came forward and made the statement that Lewis Walls told her he would harm her and that he had killed a girl before.
Coming up, investigators zero in on who is responsible for Roxanne's disappearance.
I have two violent offenders. I suspect that one of them is hiding a murder.
It's been almost 2 years since Roxanne Paltoff vanished outside a motel in a rough area of Austin, Texas. In March 2008, police learned some disturbing news about Roxanne's boyfriend, Lewis Walls, that they think could move the case forward.
Lewis had gotten into an incident with a woman that he'd been dating who he has a child with. They had met to discuss some child support and child care issues, but instead of talking about that, he ended up threatening this young woman, also another young woman, significantly younger than he, and sort of whispering some things to her that, you know, if she didn't basically behave, that he would do to her what he'd done to Roxanne.
What he had said was that if she did not want to end up like that girl, Roxanne, that she needed to do what he wanted her to do.
If someone threatens harm and the threat is believable, it is viewed as a criminal act.
She had every the same to you.
Lewis's girlfriend makes a statement to police and is granted a restraining order against him. Lewis is charged with making a terroristic threat and sentenced to 140 days in jail. While incarcerated, police interview Lewis about the claims that he killed Roxanne.
Lewis was very confrontational, and at the point of what he said, he repeatedly told me, I didn't say that, that's not what I said, she's lying. She's just trying to get back at me because I don't want to be with her anymore. She set me up. She just wanted me sent to jail. She had prior knowledge of his involvement with Roxanne's case and was trying to use that against him.
With Walls denying the comment and no solid evidence against him, police have nothing to go on. Over the course of the investigation, a friendship develops between Roxanne's mother, Liz Harris, and the lead detective on the case, James Scott.
Every Wednesday, I could expect, like clockwork, a call from Elizabeth saying, hey, you know, what's new?
At first, they used to say, this is Elizabeth Harris, Roxanne Paltoff's mother, but now we're just Elizabeth Harris. I hear his voice change immediately. It's not a voice of dread, oh God, here's that mother calling me. It's a voice of disappointment that he hasn't been able to find Roxanne, like he hasn't accomplished what he set out to do.
I try to keep her updated on what I'm doing. You build a relationship with the family. You know, I've met her family. She's met my family. You feel a frustration, a sense of loss. You want to give people that closure. You want to give them the answers they're looking for.
I truly believe in my heart that he is genuine about finding Roxanne and doing whatever it takes to find her.
She's a mother missing a child. She's never going to stop looking. And as a detective, how can I quit? As long as Roxanne's missing, I have to look for her.
Four years later, the Austin police get a call from Albuquerque, New Mexico. Skeletal remains have been found that match Roxanne's description.
Of course, the significance of Albuquerque, we do know that Lewis Walls made several phone calls to Albuquerque immediately after Roxanne's disappearance to call his ex-girlfriend.
Was it too much of a coincidence?
It was very significant, and it was, once again, another one of those hold-your-breath moments. This could be a huge break in this case. This could be finally some closure as far as where is Roxanne.
Detective Scott forwards Roxanne's dental records to the medical examiner in New Mexico, but this time chooses not to share the discovery with Roxanne's mother, Elizabeth.
Until I had a confirmation, I can't put myself in the position of causing her that grief. I don't think that's a roller coaster ride that she needs to go on.
After a week, the dental records show that the remains are not those of Roxanne.
I don't think at this point in time that there's really any hope that Roxanne will be found alive. It's just too late. She didn't call. All the things that would have indicated that she was alive are gone. And I think the reality that's set in for her family and friends is that not only is she gone and dead, but she was likely murdered. And the thing that remains is that they don't know what happened to her. Was she scared? Was she, did she suffer? Where is she? These are the things that haunt them, and they're the only pieces of Roxanne that are left. At this point, I just don't want to find her, no matter what it takes, dead or alive.
This case is still an open and active missing persons case. What I'm left with now is I have two violent offenders, both involved in criminal activity, and both hiding criminal activity, but I suspect that one of them is hiding a murder.
Neither Lewis Walls nor Jeffrey Moore has ever been charged in connection to Roxanne's disappearance. Whatever happened to her remains a mystery.
Do I think Roxanne's fallen victim to foul play? Yes, I do. Do I know what that foul play is? I don't. But those are answers that I will certainly keep looking until I find them.
Why is looking at cake?
Who wants to play?
Well, I want a fork. There's a light that went off when she went away, and there was a hole in our hearts.
Hello, 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 check, hello, 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 check, hello, 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 got it, hello, hello, check, hello, 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 check, check.
अरे क्यों चढ़े सारा यार इतने दे यार उतर जाओ सारा स्टेज पे सारा थले उतरो नामागा फिर चाहिए
हम इसके ऊपर बैठेगा तार मिसिंग करे ना हाले लगो बैठ दे तम एक बार ओए पीछे जाओ ओए बच्चा बाहर आ जाओ बाहर जाओ चलो 10 बार बाहर जाओ 2 मिनट में गए बाहर नहीं चलो नशा बार पीछे आ जाओ बैठो चलो उतर जाओ तार मिसिंग करे मेरा लगती बार बार इसमें तार मिसिंग का हाथ थोड़ी हरकत देखनी है मिस्टेक हुई है एनु मोड़ लिंग फिर मेरा हाथ है ना मोड़ना थोड़ा दी थोड़ा ना इसको बेस
Must